The cold stars glittered beyond the wide observation window of the research station Orbitus 9. Deep in the war-torn sector of the galaxy, where human colonies clung to life amid alien empires, the station was considered insignificant. Yet inside, something extraordinary stirred, a discovery that could change humanity's fate forever. Solara appeared in the containment chamber like a fragile ghost. Her skin was almost transparent, the faint glow of her veins tracing delicate patterns beneath the surface. To any untrained eye, she looked weak, delicate, even defenseless. But the humans who had been observing her knew better. Her saliva, when it touched metal, melted it instantly. Thick steel beams, reinforced doors, weapons, all became molten in seconds when her drool accidentally brushed them. The first tests had been horrifying. Scientists had assumed it was a chemical reaction, perhaps something neutralized by protective suits. They were wrong. Commander Leora, the leader of the research team, watched from the observation deck as another test began. A thick steel cube sat on a platform, and Solara approached it cautiously. Liam, the young engineer, had been assigned to monitor the experiment. He held the temperature scanner, nervously biting his lip. When Solara smiled faintly and touched the cube, it liquefied almost instantly, bubbling like molten lava. The scientists gasped. "What is happening?" one of them muttered. "It's her saliva," Leora said firmly, her eyes narrowed. "It's not toxic to humans. Watch." She gestured toward Liam. Hesitantly, Liam stepped closer. He extended a gloved hand and touched Solara's arm. Nothing. No burning sensation, no tingle, no reaction whatsoever. He blinked in disbelief. "It doesn't hurt me," he said softly. Solara tilted her head as if studying him. Her gaze was curious, intelligent, almost human. She smiled, and Liam realized she wasn't a mindless weapon. She understood. But outside the station, others had noticed. The galaxy's major powers, alien empires known for their ruthlessness, had received fragments of reports. Whispers reached the ears of military leaders, a species whose saliva could melt steel, yet never harmed humans. Their first reaction was fear, then greed. Weaponization became the immediate priority. They would capture her no matter the cost. The station shuddered as alarms began to wail. Red lights flashed and the automated security system engaged. "Incoming vessel," one of the scientists shouted. Through the large window, sleek alien ships descended, their surfaces glinting menacingly in the light of distant stars. "We've been found," Leora said grimly. She turned to Liam. "Get to the safe zone, keep her away from them." Liam nodded, his heart pounding. He had barely known Solara for a few hours, but he felt a strange sense of protectiveness. She was more than a weapon. She was alive. She was remarkable. The first attackers landed on the platform outside. They were heavily armored, moving with terrifying efficiency. Humans had few defenses, just a handful of laser rifles and improvised barricades. The aliens opened fire. The lasers hit the walls of the station, sending sparks flying. Liam and the other humans ducked behind reinforced panels. Solara's reaction was immediate. She moved toward the door, lips curling in concentration. A thin line of saliva fell onto the metal threshold. It hissed, bubbled, and within moments, the steel melted into a molten puddle. The door bent inward and collapsed. The aliens froze, staring at her with a mixture of awe and horror. "Get back," Leora shouted. "Stay behind her." The humans did as they were told. Liam felt a strange warmth as Solara stepped forward, her presence almost protective. The first alien soldier attempted to advance through the melted doorway. He touched the liquid steel, expecting some miraculous resistance, but his armored feet sank into it. Panic spread among their ranks. "Impossible," one of the aliens yelled. "She cannot be restrained." Solara moved with grace, her every step careful. She did not harm humans. She did not aim to kill them. Her power was terrifying but controlled, precise. Whenever an alien soldier tried to reach for the humans, she stepped in. Metal bent and melted, weapons failed, and humans stayed safe. The attackers realized too late that they were facing a force unlike any they had imagined. Liam had never felt so alive. His hands shook, but not with fear. He had seen humanity underestimated for centuries, always mocked by larger, stronger alien races. Yet here they were, standing behind a being who could destroy steel effortlessly, and she chose to protect them. "Why doesn't she hurt us?" one scientist whispered. Leora's eyes were fixed on the unfolding chaos. "I don't know, but I think she sees something in us, something worth protecting." As the battle raged, Liam noticed how calm Solara remained. Unlike the humans who panicked under fire, she moved with focus, melting barricades, disabling weapons, and shielding anyone in her path. The aliens adapted quickly, realizing brute force was useless. They retreated slightly, regrouping to rethink their strategy. That night the humans gathered in the observation deck, catching their breath. The station had survived the first wave, but only barely. Liam approached Solara, sitting beside her in silence. She tilted her head and her eyes, large and luminous, met his. There was a strange intelligence there, almost as if she were reading his thoughts. "You saved us," he said softly. She did not respond in words, but a soft hum vibrated in her throat. It was comforting, almost musical. Liam felt a connection he could not explain. Humans had been dismissed across the galaxy as weak and insignificant, yet now, with her, they had survived. And maybe, just maybe, they could thrive. The next morning, communication signals from other human colonies arrived. Panic was spreading. Word of Solara's abilities had leaked. Every major alien empire began sending fleets. They did not know humans could be more than prey, but they intended to capture or destroy the station. "We need a plan," Leora said grimly. "They won't stop coming." Liam volunteered. "We can use her abilities strategically. We don't need weapons like theirs. We just need to stay clever." Solara watched him, head tilted. She seemed to understand. Liam realized that humans were not just surviving by chance. With Solara, they had a unique ally. Her powers amplified their ingenuity, and their creativity gave her purpose. Together, they could stand against forces that had always underestimated them. Over the following days, the humans trained, moving through the station like shadows. Solara learned to control her power with precision, melting only what was necessary. Liam and the engineers devised makeshift tools to exploit her abilities. Metal doors became traps, weapons were neutralized before being fired, and even the alien sensors could not detect their movements. Alien scouts arrived, expecting an easy conquest. They were met with a wall of fire and melted steel, confused and defeated. For the first time in history, humans were not the weaklings. They were partners with something truly extraordinary, something terrifying to anyone who had ever looked down on them. Word reached the larger fleets. Aliens whispered among themselves. The fragile species was not so fragile. They wondered why Solara did not harm the humans. Some began to speculate cautiously that humans were special. Others dismissed the idea, insisting that capturing Solara would give them ultimate control. But the humans were ready, not with brute strength but with cleverness, courage, and strategy. They moved like shadows, striking where aliens did not expect, always protected by Solara's strange, precise power. Then came the warning signals. Scouts reported a massive alien fleet approaching. Their intent was clear: eliminate the humans and take Solara by force. Liam felt a surge of determination. He looked at Solara standing beside the control panels, serene, glowing, and lethal. "We won't run," he said softly. "They'll learn the hard way." Solara tilted her head, and for a brief moment her smile seemed almost human. It was as if she agreed. The humans prepared. Makeshift barricades were reinforced with steel they knew she could melt at will. Escape pods were readied, but their goal was not to flee. They would fight. They would survive. and they would show the galaxy that humans were not to be dismissed. As the first ships of the alien fleet emerged from hyperspace, the station trembled. Lights flickered. Red alarms blared. The humans braced themselves. Salara's saliva began to drip, sizzling on the nearest steel beam, ready to melt anything that threatened them. The first beam of an alien weapon struck the station and melted instantly before it could harm anyone. The aliens recoiled. They had underestimated humans before, and they would pay for that mistake. Liam gritted his teeth, feeling both fear and exhilaration. Humanity had always been considered weak, but now with Salara they were something else. Dangerous, clever, unstoppable in ways no one expected. The station's loudspeakers crackled as the alien fleet advanced. Red light reflected off molten steel and terrified faces. Salara moved among the humans, melting doors, disabling weapons, protecting them with an effortless grace. They could not have survived this without her, and yet she did not hurt a single human. Liam realized then what made her different. Not the power, not the ability to melt steel, but the choice. She chose humanity. She chose them as allies. She trusted them in a way that no other alien had ever trusted any human before. The first battle was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, empires watched. Whispers began to spread, impossible rumors. Humans had an ally that could destroy steel with a touch, yet their own people remained untouched. Some dismissed it as exaggeration. Others feared it. And one thing was certain: no one in the galaxy would ever underestimate humanity again. As the alien fleet closed in, Liam looked at Salara. Her eyes glowed softly in the dim light. For the first time, he felt the weight of what they could achieve together. This fragile, deadly being was not their weapon. She was their shield, their proof that humans, clever and courageous, could survive, and even thrive, where no one thought they could. And as the first volley of alien weapons struck, melting into puddles before it could harm a single human, the truth was undeniable. Humanity, once dismissed, had finally become unstoppable. The alien fleet hung over Orbitus 9 like a shadow of doom. Hundreds of sleek warships glinted under the cold light of distant stars, their weapons trained on the station. Inside, the humans moved like ghosts, preparing for the onslaught. Every step they took was calculated. Every metal panel, every corridor had been adapted to Salara's strange, deadly power. Salara stood at the center of the control room, calm and glowing softly. Her presence had become a source of courage for the humans. Where they once feared failure, they now felt invincible. They had seen her melt weapons, doors, and metal walls, yet humans remained untouched. She was no mere tool. She was an ally, intelligent and deliberate, her mind as sharp as any human strategist. Liam moved beside her, adjusting the temperature sensors and monitoring molten metal flow. He had grown accustomed to her abilities, but he still felt awe each time she moved. Salara's saliva hissed against the steel as she prepared another defensive perimeter, her movements graceful and precise. "They're coming in faster than last time," Liam said, his voice tight with tension. "We need to slow them down before they board." Leora nodded, issuing orders with confidence that had grown in the last few days. "Salara, focus on the outer hull. Melt the airlocks, disable their boarding systems. Everyone else prepare traps." The first wave of alien scouts approached. Unlike the earlier attackers, these were small, fast ships designed for precision strikes. They expected humans to panic, to scatter, but the humans were ready. Salara's saliva dripped onto the outer panels, melting reinforced steel just as the scouts attempted to latch onto the station. The metal softened and collapsed under their grip, sending several ships tumbling into space. Inside, the humans moved like shadows. They had rigged the corridors with metal traps, channels that could redirect molten steel. Any alien who tried to follow would find the floor giving way beneath them, swallowed by the heat and destruction Salara controlled so effortlessly. Keep your heads, Leora warned. They're learning. The aliens were relentless. They began to adapt, sending armored boarding teams equipped with insulated suits and plasma cutters. They assumed that Selara's saliva would have limits, that she would not be able to reach inside their armored vessels. They were wrong. Selara approached each breach with calm precision. A small drip of her saliva fell onto the hull of a boarding ship. The metal bubbled and warped, tearing the ship apart from the inside. Inside the corridors of the station, the humans were safe, moving across molten traps with careful agility. Liam marveled at the synchronization between them and Selara. It was as if she anticipated every move, every strategy, every attempt to harm them. Outside, alien observers began whispering in disbelief. "She doesn't hurt them," one muttered. "Why not?" a more experienced commander growled. "It doesn't matter. Capture her, and the humans will die anyway." The humans knew the aliens were underestimating them. That was their advantage. While the aliens relied on brute strength, the humans relied on creativity, improvisation, and quick thinking. Using Selara as both shield and weapon, they turned simple corridors into death traps. Makeshift levers, melted steel channels, and improvised barriers funneled the enemy into predictable paths, where Selara's powers awaited. Hours passed, and the battle raged on. The station trembled under the continuous assault, but humanity stood firm. Liam and Selara moved together like a unit, their trust in each other growing with every confrontation. He realized that the secret to surviving the aliens was not just Selara's power, but the humans' ability to adapt it, to use it strategically rather than recklessly. Then came a message from deep space. Another fleet was approaching, larger, more organized, and far more dangerous than any they had faced. The Alien Council, a powerful coalition that had always dismissed humans as insignificant, was coming personally to ensure Selara was captured. Leora gathered the team. "This isn't just a fight for survival anymore," she said. "This is a war for recognition. They see us as weak, and we will show them we are not. Everyone, listen carefully. We use Selara to hold them off long enough for a strike team to disable their command ships. This is our only chance." The humans prepared. They knew they could not match the Council fleet ship for ship, but they could use their wits. Selara's saliva could melt steel, but humans had brains, tactics, and unpredictability. Together, they formed a force no one had anticipated. As the Council fleet arrived, the scale of the attack became clear. Hundreds of ships spread out across the system, cutting off any escape routes. Alien warships fired lasers, plasma cannons, and missiles, but Selara was ready. Her saliva hit the incoming projectiles, melting them mid-flight. Laser beams struck walls and bent away harmlessly. Humans moved through the corridors with agility, exploiting gaps in the aliens' strategy. One of the Council's top commanders, a massive alien with armor plating nearly impenetrable, attempted to board the station personally. His team followed, expecting an easy victory. Selara met them at the docking bay. Her calm, glowing form advanced, melting the metal floor beneath their feet. The commander roared in frustration as his armor warped, weapons disintegrating before he could strike. The humans behind her moved in, using their tools to disable the rest of the boarding party. Liam watched in awe. Humans had always been underestimated. Across the galaxy, they had been dismissed as fragile, weak, and unworthy. But here, with Selara, they were a force of creativity, courage, and precision. She protected them, amplified their abilities, and yet never harmed a single human. The aliens began to fear them. Not just the humans' resourcefulness, but the combination of human ingenuity and Selara's unique power. Rumors began to spread across the Council fleet. Humans were not prey. They were partners with a being capable of unmatched destruction, yet one that chose to protect them. Inside the station, the humans devised a daring plan. They would split into teams, using Salara's abilities to melt key parts of the enemy fleet from within. Channels of molten steel would disrupt engines, weapons, and life support systems. While Salara worked on the outside, human teams would infiltrate ships, turning ordinary tools into devastating weapons. It was dangerous, but they had no choice. Failure meant total annihilation. Salara and Liam led the first strike. Moving through the chaos of the station, they reached the docking bay, where molten metal already blocked several incoming ships. Using precise drips and controlled streams, Salara melted hulls and weapons, leaving corridors of liquid steel that the aliens could not navigate. Liam and the human team followed, disabling controls and redirecting power systems. Every alien encounter ended in confusion and defeat. The humans' confidence grew. They had survived impossible odds, and the aliens were beginning to show cracks in their strategy. Salara remained calm, efficient, almost serene, while the humans adapted with speed and ingenuity. Together, they had created a synergy that no one had anticipated. But the Council fleet was relentless. They had noticed the humans' tactics and began coordinating attacks with deadly precision. Multiple ships attempted to board simultaneously, and drones swarmed the station from every angle. It was clear the Council intended to overwhelm them completely. Leora quickly issued new orders. "Divide and distract," she said. "Salara, melt the weapons first. Humans, spread out and sabotage their engines. Hit them where they don't expect it." The humans executed the plan flawlessly. Salara's saliva struck weapons and airlocks, melting them instantly. Aliens attempting to board found themselves trapped or falling into channels of molten metal. Humans moved like shadows, sabotaging engines, redirecting power, and using every possible trick to survive. The alien fleet was powerful, but it was predictable. Human ingenuity, combined with Salara's precision, was unstoppable. Hours turned into a tense night of continuous battle. Explosions rocked the station, molten metal flowed through corridors, and humans adapted to every challenge. Liam felt exhaustion creeping in, but he could not stop. He looked at Salara, moving effortlessly through the chaos, and realized something important. Humanity had finally found a force they could rely on, one that respected them, understood them, and fought for them. As the battle reached its climax, the Council commander attempted a final assault. The massive alien warship moved to crush the station. Salara reacted instantly. Streams of saliva struck the hull, melting it in critical areas. The humans infiltrated the ship, sabotaging controls and engines. Within moments, the massive vessel was crippled, drifting uselessly in space. The Council's strategy was failing, and panic spread among their ranks. For the first time, the humans were not just surviving, they were winning. Across the station, teams cheered as their traps and tactics took effect. Salara moved among them, her glow illuminating the corridors, her presence a symbol of protection and power. She never harmed a human, but every alien who threatened them was neutralized efficiently. Word spread among the alien fleets. Humans were not weak. They were not insignificant. With Salara, they had become a force to be reckoned with, clever and brave beyond any measure. Some aliens began to doubt their mission, wondering if capturing Salara was worth the risk. Others, however, remained determined, unwilling to accept defeat. The humans knew this was only the beginning. The Council fleet was still massive, still organized, and still deadly. But they had learned something invaluable. Humans could survive impossible odds. They could adapt, strategize, and fight in ways no alien expected. And with Salara by their side, they had a weapon unlike any other, a weapon that only ever protected them. Liam stood with Leora and Salara in the observation room, looking out at the chaos of the battlefield. Ships burned, explosions rippled through the void, and molten steel streamed across the station's corridors. Humanity had survived another assault, but the Council fleet was still coming. Selara's eyes met Liam's, calm and intelligent. She seemed to understand the unspoken thought in his mind, that the war had only just begun. Humanity had proven itself once, but the galaxy would not easily forget. Every empire would take notice now, every council would fear the species that could survive anything. And for the first time, Liam felt something he had never felt before. Not fear, not doubt, but pride. Humans had been dismissed for centuries, weak, fragile, insignificant, but now they were a force of ingenuity, courage, and resilience. And with Selara they were unstoppable. The Council fleet would not wait. They would strike again. But the humans were ready. They had Selara, they had strategy, and they had each other. They would not only survive, they would change the way the galaxy viewed humanity forever. The final message from the station's communication array crackled. The Council fleet was approaching Earth itself. The humans' homeworld, the heart of their species, was in danger, but Liam felt no fear. The humans had survived impossible odds before. They would survive again. And when the Council saw the combined force of humanity and Selara, they would understand one undeniable truth: never underestimate humans. The first phase of the war was over, but the real battle, the one that would determine humanity's place in the galaxy, was only beginning. And Selara, glowing and powerful, remained at their side, a living testament to the strength of trust, courage, and unity. Humanity had finally begun to rise. The Earth system hung quietly in space, its blue oceans and green continents calm against the chaos approaching. Far beyond its atmosphere, the Council fleet advanced with deadly precision. Hundreds of warships glinted like shards of metal under the distant sun. Every empire that had once dismissed humanity now waited for its destruction. Inside Orbitus 9, humanity's small but determined force prepared for the final battle. Selara stood at the center of the control room, her translucent skin glowing faintly in the dim light. Humans moved around her with precision, checking weapons, reinforcing metal channels, and coordinating the defense strategy. "We don't have much time," Leora said. "They've discovered our tactics. The fleet is adapting. If we don't strike first, Earth is gone." Liam nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. He had grown accustomed to the chaos of battle, but this was different. This was the fate of his species, the survival of humanity itself. He watched Selara, calm and radiant, and realized that they had one advantage no alien could ever match: trust. Selara chose to protect humans. She would never harm them. That trust had made them strong, clever, and unpredictable. The first wave of the Council fleet reached the outskirts of the Earth system. Massive ships filled the void, weapons charging with lethal energy. Alien scouts rushed ahead to scout, expecting humans to scatter. Instead, humans acted. Selara moved to the outer perimeter. Her saliva dripped onto the incoming metal hulls, melting weapon systems before they could fire. Lasers bounced harmlessly off molten streams of steel. The Council's scouts faltered, confused by a defense they could not understand. Humanity had learned to fight differently. They had learned to turn weaknesses into strengths. Inside the station, the humans prepared for infiltration. Small teams of engineers and soldiers would board the Council ships, disable engines, sabotage weapons, and create chaos from within. Liam led one such team, using reinforced boarding pods to approach a massive warship. Selara's glow guided them. Wherever she moved, molten steel flowed to create traps for any alien who dared follow. Liam and his team moved silently, understanding that their ingenuity combined with her power was their greatest weapon. The first boarding was brutal. Alien soldiers met the humans with plasma rifles and armored suits, but the corridors were traps. Floors melted beneath their feet, walls warped to block passage, and weapons disintegrated on contact with molten steel. One by one, alien soldiers fell back, confused and defeated. The humans advanced, improvising with every challenge. Ordinary tools became devastating weapons. Makeshift levers ripped doors off hinges, cable lines shorted out systems, and the aliens' own tactics worked against them. Liam felt a surge of pride. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries. Entire empires had assumed humans were weak, fragile, and insignificant. Yet here they were, surviving, adapting, and thriving in the face of overwhelming odds. Solara moved beside them, precise and powerful, neutralizing every threat without harming a single human. Meanwhile, Leora coordinated the larger battle from the station. She issued orders with calm authority, directing teams to critical points. Every move was calculated, every trap set to maximize Solara's abilities. The Council fleet could not predict human creativity. They could not anticipate how a species they deemed weak could think, adapt, and strategize in ways that defied all logic. The alien fleet attempted to retaliate, targeting the station with concentrated fire. Massive plasma beams struck the outer hull, but Solara reacted instantly. Her saliva dripped onto the incoming weapons, melting them mid-flight. Molten steel flowed across the hull, neutralizing missiles and lasers alike. The aliens were stunned. No species should have survived this, yet humans and Solara were unharmed. Within the chaos, Liam's team reached the Council flagship. The ship's engines roared, its weapon systems fully operational, but the humans were ready. Using makeshift devices and the flowing molten steel from Solara outside, they infiltrated critical systems. They severed power channels, melted armored conduits, and rerouted energy to disable the ship's main weapons. Alien engineers scrambled to fix the damage, but every solution was met with new human creativity. Solara's influence extended beyond simple destruction. Aliens began to see a pattern. No matter how heavily armored or clever their designs, the humans adapted faster, using Solara's abilities as both shield and weapon. Some alien commanders began to doubt their mission. Could a species so small and seemingly fragile truly survive against the might of the Council fleet? But doubts did not stop the Council. They committed more forces. A massive battle unfolded above Earth. Hundreds of ships clashed in space. Lasers lit up the void. Explosions rippled across the fleet, and molten steel from Solara's attacks turned some of the largest warships into floating wrecks. Humans on board boarding teams exploited these openings, disabling engines, collapsing corridors, and forcing retreating aliens into traps. On Earth, people watched the signals streaming from Orbitus 9. They had never believed the rumors of Solara's abilities. But now they saw proof. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was surviving. Humanity was fighting back. Across continents, military and civilian alike held their breath, waiting to see the outcome. Inside the Council flagship, panic spread. Ships they assumed would crush humanity were falling apart under the combination of alien overconfidence and human ingenuity. Officers screamed orders, but their tactics failed again and again. Solara's molten steel moved unpredictably, neutralizing weapons, collapsing corridors, and creating chaos wherever humans needed it most. Liam led his team to the core of the flagship. The main control room loomed ahead, bristling with alien technology. With precise coordination, they planted energy disruptors, melted key support beams, and redirected the ship's power systems to overload. The aliens tried to fight back, but the humans' ingenuity, combined with Solara's abilities outside, proved unstoppable. Finally, the flagship shuddered. Massive explosions tore through the hull as molten steel spread internally and externally. The Council commander realized the humans had won. Ships under his command began to retreat, some destroyed, others crippled. The fleet's morale collapsed. They had underestimated humanity, and now the consequences were unavoidable. Leora's voice came through the comms, calm and commanding. All teams fall back to Orbitus 9. The battle is won. Earth is safe for now. Humanity has shown its strength. The humans returned to the station, exhilarated but exhausted. Solara moved among them, glowing faintly, her presence both comforting and awe-inspiring. No human had been harmed, but the aliens who threatened them had been neutralized decisively. Liam approached her, his hands trembling with relief. "We did it," he said softly. "We survived, and we won." Solara tilted her head, her eyes luminous, as if acknowledging the truth of his words. She did not speak, but her calm presence conveyed understanding, approval, and trust. Humans had survived against impossible odds, and she had chosen to fight for them. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Aliens who had once laughed at humans now whispered in fear and respect. Entire fleets reconsidered their strategies. Humanity had proven that it was not fragile, not insignificant. With intelligence, courage, and unexpected alliances, they had survived where no one thought possible. Earth received word of the victory. Cities celebrated, knowing that humans had defended not just themselves, but the homeworld as well. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer a question. It was undeniable. Humans were strong, clever, and capable of surviving anything the universe threw at them. Solara became more than an ally. She became a symbol. Her lethal abilities had protected humans, amplified their strategies, and demonstrated that trust and cooperation could turn even the most fragile species into a force unmatched in creativity and courage. Liam and Leora stood on the observation deck of Orbitus 9, looking out at the wrecked alien fleet drifting in space. "They'll never forget this," Liam said. "Humans, we've changed how the galaxy sees us." Leora nodded, her eyes firm. "We've survived impossible odds, Liam. And with Solara, we've proven one thing. Intelligence, courage, and unity are more powerful than brute force. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is unstoppable." The humans cheered quietly, their voices echoing through the station. They were tired, battered, but triumphant. Every human aboard Orbitus 9 felt the same truth. They had risen from underestimation, survived against impossible enemies, and shown the galaxy their true strength. Solara moved among them one last time, her glowing eyes meeting each human. She had chosen them. She had fought for them. She had made the impossible possible. Humans had always been underestimated, but now, with Solara's help, they had earned their place in the galaxy. The Council fleets retreated, their arrogance shattered. The message was clear: never underestimate humanity. Clever, brave, united, and capable of unimaginable feats, humans were no longer fragile. They were survivors, innovators, and warriors in a universe that had always doubted them. On the observation deck, Liam looked at the stars beyond. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and unknown challenges. But for the first time, humanity was ready. They had allies, they had intelligence, and they had courage. They had Solara. And with her, they could face any threat, survive any battle, and rise above any odds. Across the universe, whispers spread. A fragile species had survived the impossible. A being of terrifying power had chosen them. And humanity had proven that when underestimated, they could become unstoppable. For the first time in history, humans were no longer the underdogs. They were a force to be reckoned with. And with Solara at their side, the galaxy would remember one undeniable truth forever: underestimate humans at your own peril. The war was not over, but humanity had won the first and most important victory. They had survived, adapted, and risen. The universe would never see humans the same way again. Liam turned to Leora, a smile breaking across his face. "We've done it. Humanity, we're finally seen." Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're just getting started. The galaxy is watching, and they will remember today. Humanity with courage, intelligence, and Solara is unstoppable." Solara's glow pulsed softly, a quiet, reassuring heartbeat among the humans. They had survived impossible odds, and together they would continue to rise. "Humanity, once underestimated and dismissed, had finally claimed its place in the stars.